Welcome, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation. The session is being recorded, so if someone could hit that record button, I'd appreciate it. Okay, so today's presentation, everyone will be on mute. Presentation will last between 40 and 45 minutes. There will be time left over for questions and answers. Please use the Q&A window to enter questions for the presenters. We'll probably hold off on the questions until the end. Please include your name followed by your institution if you're allowed. I'm not sure, we haven't tested QA. We don't know if we can add institution or name, but at least use the Q&A, please, to enter your questions. If you want to converse with your fellow attendees, use the chat window. We're very, very honored today to have with us from Purdue some seasoned relationship management professionals. This is, by the way, the culmination of a series of 3 webinars, ending with today, Purdue providing some insight on their journey. With us, we have Leanne McGivern. She is the Associate Director of Business Relationship Management. We've got Crystal Domkowski. She's a Business Relationship Manager. And we have Mark Sullivan, who is also a Business Relationship Manager. And then finally, we have Kayla Gorganis. She is a Program Coordinator. Before we turn over the presentation to Purdue, I want to give Sherry a few minutes to talk about the CG and the open session at the conference. Sherry?
Hi, I'm Sherry Curl, Assistant Director for Business Relationship Management at Cornell University. Thank you for attending this webinar. Our Business Relationship Management Community Group session at the Educause conference is scheduled for Tuesday, October 15th from 4:15 to 5 p.m. We will be having roundtable discussions on topics such as how to market and promote the BRM role to partners and lessons learned, ways to deliver or demonstrate the value of BRM, balancing internal versus external client engagement, and how to perform the BRM function with less than the optimal amount of resources. It should be an interesting session and a chance to discuss these topics with colleagues from your other institutions. And again, this session is scheduled for Tuesday, October 15th from 4:15 to 5 p.m. Hope to see you there.
So Mitchell, are we ready to go?
Yeah, go ahead and start the presentation.
Okay. So welcome, everybody. My name is Leanne McGivern, and as Mitchell indicated, I'm the Associate Director for BRM. Our entire team is here today, and we're going to start out here with a few foundational items, but this is the team. Crystal's actually in Oklahoma and joining us virtually, so yay for technology. Oh. Are we going? Do we have? All right. Do we have audio?
We do. I'm hearing you.
Oh, okay. Okay. So someone had mentioned they weren't able to hear us. So okay. So again, this is the team. This is who's on today. And just to really start us off, Purdue University is a public land-grant university located here in West Lafayette, Indiana. We were established in 1869, and we're currently celebrating our 150th anniversary. And our enrollment this year is a little over 44,500 students. So it just kind of gives you perspective of where we're at. The other thing is, since we are land-grant university, we do have 3 very clear mission areas that guide us through our activities, and that's teaching, research, and extension or engagement. As far as our reporting structure, we are part of the College of Agriculture, and we report into the Agriculture Information Technology, which is a distributed IT organization, also known as AgIT. This is relevant, and Mark and Crystal will be going through this a little bit more in depth, but our Purdue Agriculture faculty are our business partners, and we do cover the entire campus for technology solutions. The other thing is, from day one, we've had a very clear directive, and that is to bring the full potential of the technology investment directly to faculty. It lines up very well with the BRM capability and discipline. It also guides us as we continue to mature as a BRM team. So our timeline, we officially began in August of 2015, but I will always say that we really became a BRM team on May 1st, 2017, as we began our focus on really understanding the College of Agriculture and its faculty. In today's presentation, we're really going to highlight our movement, our growth from May 1st, 2017 to the present. And with that, I'd like to hand you over to Mark.
Hi, thanks for joining us. I'm going to be talking about our business partners. And our potential business partners are over 300 faculty in the Purdue College of Agriculture. So just a note on vocabulary, when I use the term faculty or business partner, they are the same. So our team has been directed to engage with specific strategic faculty groups by our dean. New faculty are one of those groups we engage with, and then those who are considered to be part of special initiatives are added to our program as we have capacity. Currently, we're engaged with about 125 faculty members. As Leanne mentioned, we're focused on helping those business partners optimize the value they receive from technology. A few months after Crystal and I started, our team made a deliberate shift to really focus on our faculty. That's that May 1st date that Leanne mentioned. Initially, we had a fairly broad, balanced focus with technology, and that was important to understand the technology landscape at the university, but we didn't start making significant progress as a BRM team until we shifted our focus to our business partners. I think that was probably due to BRM role not being well understood, including our own understanding and ability to articulate it. In the end, shifting our focus to our business partners was really pivotal in accelerating our growth as a team and ultimately provided us with opportunities to advance our technology partner relationships. Crystal's going to talk more about technology partner relationships in her portion of today's program. So as I mentioned, new faculty is one of the strategic groups our team focuses on. There's a lot of opportunity here. We start out by making early contact to begin the relationship, which means we email them before they arrive on campus. In that email, we welcome them, introduce BRM, and offer our assistance. We usually meet with them during the first 2 weeks they're on campus. And those early meetings provide the first opportunities for us to engage them as the BRM team. Often the initial activities are very tactical, but they help us establish us as someone they can go to for assistance, find answers, and put them in contact with potential technology partners. All this leads to faster startup for their activities, which is usually research, at least initially. It helps build a foundation for our relationship in which they feel comfortable enough to keep engaging with us and allowing that relationship to advance. Being a strategic partner is ultimately our goal, but we recognize you don't just show up and become one. It has to be earned. Established faculty are a little different challenge. With established faculty, you're breaking into an environment where their technology is probably very well set, and they may look at BRM with more skepticism, but even so, we found that we can often still provide immediate value. It might be connecting them with a new technology or a technology partner that they weren't aware of. It's easy to miss new technology offerings and the daily mountain of email. At least that's the case in our organization. I want to quickly talk about engagements and how we categorize them. So we have formal engagements, and this is when we schedule a meeting and we sit down with them to cover a specific topic. We have specific practices we follow for these. If it's an introductory meeting, we make sure we do research before we meet with them. We always go to them. Our program coordinator, Kayla, she takes care of scheduling and makes that really easy so we don't have barriers there. We go in with clear objectives for the meeting. Now, informal engagements, and I put a star next to the informal because this is where we spend most of our time and effort and where we have seen the most impact for our BRM program. Informal engagements allow us to interact more frequently, which is very important. It has allowed us to identify more opportunities for BRM to add value. Informal engagements can be on sidewalks, in a hallway, at a conference, seminar. They're unplanned. So if you take a look at the chart on the side, it's an older chart, but it's when our team began to notice a change. It showed us that attending events did translate into more opportunities to engage with our faculty business partners. I'll show an example of why that's important towards the end of my talk. So our team created a graphic to help us communicate how BRM works together with both business and technology partners. On the left side, you'll see that in pursuit of their goals, faculty are focused on their scholarly activities. On the other side, you see that technology partners are focused on the exploration and optimization of technology. BRM begins with a process to discover and understanding both partner spaces. With our faculty, we want to understand their goals, objectives, challenges, opportunities they face, their background, the language they use, collaborators, where they are in their career, even their IT history. All of these things help us improve our ability to interact with them. With our technology partners, we look at the capabilities, scope, establish key contacts and processes to engage them, and they help us understand what we as BRM should be listening for to best utilize their offerings. We often refer to those as keywords. With a base of understanding, we worked to build relationships between all parties, BRM to business partner, BRM to technology partner, and business partner to technology partner. This is done through repeated interaction, preferably face-to-face, both formal and informal. So we listen, we identify, we facilitate, and connect. We seek opportunities for our IT partners to engage with business partners. It could be a simple request to help them utilize this existing piece of technology, or it might be building a new capability that will help the faculty accelerate their research to a new level. When we find those situations, we work to cultivate the partnership between the technology and business partners. If we get it right, we end up with a strategic partnership between technology and business partners where they understand each other, their motivation and their goals and objectives. When these things happen, we have a chance to achieve true innovation. This manifests itself as a culture of collaboration and shared ownership of activities. Faculty are able to move further, faster, and have greater impact through this new partnership. So, to help you understand what I've just talked about and how that contributes to driving more value, let me walk you through a real example currently in progress. So recently we had a breakthrough with one of our faculty members who was previously only marginally engaged with BRM. When I say marginally engaged, we as a BRM team just hadn't been able to find those opportunities to make an impact on his work. In this case, it was research. So here's a picture of Leanne actually talking to this faculty member in a soybean field, in the upper right. So he wanted to collect sensor data in a very sensor challenging environment. It's remote, not well connected, and it's underground. That talk in the field led to connecting him with multiple technology partners that could help him strategize the solution to accelerate his research while moving much of the manual effort required to collect, move, and analyze the data from those sensors. Our Ag IT systems team is working with him to select sensors and build a new wireless infrastructure. That's a pretty big win. In our environment, as independent as faculty are, that is a rare occurrence. As a result of getting connected early with Ag IT application development and Ag data services, they are also working together to build a new data pipeline that will not only add value for this faculty member, but should result in something that can be leveraged by others in the future. With that, I'll hand it over to Crystal, who's going to talk more about technology partners.
Thanks, Mark. So as our BRM team moved from the tactical to strategic space, we also needed to align our technology partners in this space as well. So as mentioned by Leanne, our scope for our technology partners is the entire Purdue enterprise. So although we sit and our business partners sit in the College of Agriculture, our technology space is the entire campus. And we're strategic in this in that we seek collaborations and partnerships, not just traditional technology providers. And I'll give some examples in a little while. And our focus did not change. So we're still looking to optimize the value received from technology for our faculty business partners. And we're deliberate as we were looking to make this shift. And so this shift for us was beginning to talk about capabilities instead of services. And what I mean by that, instead of focusing on just the tools and products that were available, we also started to look at what those underlying capabilities that those tools provided to have a broader impact for our faculty business partners. So how did we begin to do this? So we started by being inclusive. So what I mean by this is we coordinate the introductions between our business partners and our technology partners. So as we meet and understand our business needs, as Mark was indicating, we seek out those technology partners that are going to help our faculty reach their goals. Then we help to coordinate those introductions between those two partners, and then we get out of the way so that those two entities can then begin building a relationship amongst each other. We are also persistent with our technology partners. And what I mean by this is that we regularly attend their workshops and seminars. So this is for a couple of reasons. One, it helps us have a better understanding of what technologies they're currently providing, what might be coming down the pipeline, what has changed. It also helps us understand the terminology. So as you can understand, working in the 3 mission areas that we do, we have a very, very broad scope of technology. And as an IT professional, it's really hard to keep up on all of that. So attending these partner workshops and seminars helps us stay informed and educated. And this takes time. This culture shift takes time, and it took time for us as we moved from the technical into the strategic realm, because as an IT provider, in the traditional sense, you're looking for solutions. And while we still do that, we're looking broader than just what's the technical solution, but in the end of the day, does this technical solution meet the goals and objectives of our business partners? We also do this by being collaborative. So we stay informed and involved, attending those workshops, reading the newsletters, disseminating information as we feel necessary. We facilitate regular update meetings and debriefs. And so with some of our groups, that's very regularly, such as monthly. So we have a couple of groups that we meet with every single month that we provide updates on our program and what we're learning about our faculty. And then they're able to provide updates on their organization and what's new there. And then there's some that we just revisit yearly because those changes maybe aren't as drastic and it's not necessarily necessary to meet on such a regular basis. We also try to maintain transparency amongst this. So if we learn information, we do our best to try to disseminate that and share that with our technology partners, as this transparency helps to build that trust. We also are strategic in this. And again, we're seeking collaborative opportunities for both business and technology partners. And so if we find a technology partner that has a new technology, for example, that needs an application, we then begin looking at our business partner group to see, is there a business partner that might have an application where this technology might be able to be used? And so that's a win-win for both the business and the technology partners. And in this, we're using the BRM capability to move our service providers into that trusted partner space so that our business partners start seeking out our technology partners as a true partner and not just a technical provider. Improving this trust does help move that provider into the true partner space. We also do this by showing value, and it's value for the business partner, the technology partner, and for the organization. Kayla will share with you some of the metrics that we're using to help demonstrate this value. And then it's important to share successes whenever possible. So we've written an annual report every year the last couple of years. And in this, we tell our story. And it's not just about the metrics, but it's really about that impact and those true stories. And in that, we share those successes with our technology partners that have helped enable this. In our particular organization, the way we're situated as BRMs, we do not have control over any technical services or capabilities. And so it's up to us to really provide influence and be strategic in our communication so that both parties can help be successful in that. So one example that we've worked with on a regular basis is in our Innovative Learning Instructional Technologies group. And so this is a group that we started with very early on. It's one of the first ones that we were meeting with on a monthly basis. And so we meet with that group monthly, and they share what's coming down the pipeline in our instructional technology space. And then we talk about what's new with the faculty, either new faculty that we've met with, existing faculty that have come to us with a need. Through this relationship, as it's gotten stronger, we've been able to feel more comfortable in that space to provide input on their organizational strategies. And this includes both successes and challenges. So what is working for the faculty, what's not working for the faculty that maybe they should consider that might make it better. They seek out our College of Agriculture faculty for pilots. And so that helps them to get true testers for their new technologies, but it also enables our faculty partners to get into these technologies early and have a say in the direction that some of those go. And our last fall, we held a new to teaching workshop that was based on our BRM feedback. And so what I mean by that is that we took to them, and we have faculty that start, and as Mark alluded, maybe they start out and they're research faculty and they have a year or two before they are in the classroom. And so if you can imagine, you learn something on day one and you don't use it for 2 years, you're probably going to need a refresher. And so what we were seeking to get out of this was a workshop so that we could revisit that and help really prepare our researchers who are now moving into the classroom to be successful as they began teaching our students. And so we held that as a pilot in the College of Agriculture based on some feedback that we were able to provide as we were meeting with this group on a regular basis. And so finally, just some examples. We have many technology partners across the entire enterprise. As you can imagine, we work very closely with our teams within the Ag IT space. So we've got support, we have development, we have systems team that sit within the college and provide college level services. Our academic IT specialists are the group that sit in the departments within the College of Agriculture. And so that's another group that we meet with regularly to share information back and forth to, again, hopefully help our faculty be successful. The Ag Data Services Group is a new group that came online, and Mark mentioned in his example. And the great thing about that group is that because we had established partnerships and relationships with other groups across campus, we've been able to help that team, just with our knowledge, help that team ramp up a lot more quickly just by sharing our information and knowledge with them. The innovative learning space, research computing is another that we work heavily with. As you can imagine, as an R1 institution, we have a lot of computational and storage needs on the research side. Purdue Libraries is one of the first sort of non-traditional IT providers that we started partnering with, and they are the experts in our data management space. So we lean on them and their expertise to help our faculty in that space. Data science consulting is another that is part of an integrated data sciences initiative on campus, and they have some consulting services in that data science space, again, to help our faculty in areas that they may need assistance. We also have found partners, faculty partners in the colleges of engineering, science, and polytechnic, where these, again, are faculty members who have innovative technologies that are looking for applications with, and we are able to partner those individuals with our faculty, and they are able to do some collaborative research and projects that both sides can be successful. And then finally, our last group that we've recently started working with is the Purdue Research Foundation. And we work with a couple of groups there, the Office of Technology Commercialization and the Purdue Foundry. And while that sounds like it might be slightly outside of the technical scope, what we found is actually it's a nice advancement as far as when our faculty reach the point where they have an innovative technology that they're ready to market either via licensing or even create a startup. This is the group that they need to go to. So it's sort of just it's sort of that nice tail end of that pipeline for us as we're helping our faculty as they're innovating in their technologies.
Great, thank you, Crystal. So Mark and Crystal have demonstrated kind of how our various partner relationships have changed. And now I'm going to highlight some key points in our metrics journey, which has also evolved significantly over time. Being able to capture and communicate our experiences using metrics has been integral to the success of our program and will continue to be as we move towards value. At the outset of establishing BRM in the College of Agriculture, Leanne understood that gathering information was going to be important, without necessarily knowing at the time what that data was going to be, how we would collect it, and how it would change over time. So what's shown here is one of our initial starting points with service level metrics. Because our program is housed within a larger IT organization, there were historical service level metrics that we could easily tap into. Our team was able to leverage Purdue's IT support ticketing system to flag tickets from our business partners as a way to stay informed of their needs. In most cases, tickets were resolved through their normal processes, but in some instances, we were also able to identify repetitive issues that were part of a larger unresolved problem that wouldn't have been obvious from any one ticket individually. Using that information from the ticketing system, we generated some basic metrics like the pie chart shown here. For teams just getting started on their own metrics journey, it can be helpful to utilize the tools already at your disposal to begin documenting that business intelligence and helping to resolve issues. However, I do want to emphasize that this was just a starting point, and our team no longer tracks tickets as metrics in this way. Around the time we made a concerted effort to engage with our business partners, our metrics also began to evolve. When the BRM program was implemented, we began using a customer relationship management tool to track all of our interactions with both business and technology partners. This collection of data established a foundational understanding of our program activity. We were able to conceptualize who we were meeting with, how often, in what capacity, and the outcomes generated from those interactions. We could then use that information to develop leading and lagging metrics in support of our program activities. As an example, one of the data points we collect is where we spend our time, and that data is generated primarily from our Outlook calendars. As Mark already mentioned, in May of 2017, we made a deliberate effort to interact with faculty and better understand their objectives by attending events where they were present. In this case, the time we invested with faculty partners would be a leading metric. Now, as a result of that time investment, we began to see a marked increase in unscheduled interactions with our faculty, which served to reinforce those relationships and uncover their goals and big ideas. The number of engagements, then, would be one of our lagging indicators. So that's just one example of the type of data we continue to collect in our CRM, but we're now also beginning to move on from these leading and lagging indicators to true value metrics. These value metrics will be used to evaluate the actual impact of our program as perceived by our business partners. Numbers are easy for people to understand and visualize, but establishing value metrics requires moving more into the qualitative data space, which calls for a slightly different approach. To address this, our team is developing its own version of a logic model with the basic components outlined in the boxes here. Logic models are widely used to evaluate programs by linking program activities with the short and long-term outcomes of those activities. Logic models are also used by our College of Agriculture's research and extension programs, so our business partners and administration are familiar with this format of reporting impact. You'll notice that in this model, we're still collecting the leading and lagging data as inputs, activities, and outputs, but then we're building upon it to reach that value stage. Based on our logic model, we'll draft a standard set of questions we can use to assess how much value is received by our business partners who engage in certain activities. We can then turn those qualitative responses into quantitative measures. This will provide deeper insights into our partners' experiences, but still in that easy-to-digest numerical form. For example, we might be able to say that 7 out of 10 business partners who received a data management consultation reported increased confidence in developing a data management plan in the future. Capturing this data also sets the stage for measuring the long-term impacts of those activities. So to take that example a little further, we could survey those same faculty again in a few months and find that they used what they learned from their consultation to actually implement a new data management plan. Then, a few years after implementation, we could follow up with them again and discover that that data management plan has saved several hundred research hours because data is no longer being duplicated or miscommunicated amongst lab members. That is the impact that we're trying to capture. Our logic model is still in development, but we hope to have some initial data to include in next year's annual report. Mark and Crystal will also be delivering a more in-depth presentation on the logic model during the BRM Connect conference next week. And speaking of reports and conferences, one of the major benefits of collecting all this information, though it of course takes time, is the ability to report out on it. So the images shown here represent our team's annual reports and another one-page overview that we put together for an incoming CIO. Because we already have a basis of data to start from, reports and presentations like these come together much more quickly than if we were starting from scratch. And demonstrating clear examples of our activities and impact shows our value as a program in a way that's easy for our various audiences to understand and connect with. As a final note, we are going to make our 2018 report available to all registered attendees, and the 2019 report is being released next week at BRM Connect. This report will also be available to you as webinar attendees by email request, so please be sure to get in contact with me if you're interested. Thank you.
Hey, Kayla.
Yeah.
I think this question's for you. You mentioned earlier about using Outlook calendars to calculate or determine scheduled contact or interactions. Question came in from Daniel about your methods for collecting data on unscheduled interactions.
Yeah, so engagements are also tracked in the CRM, though not directly from the Outlook calendars, although the events that those interactions take place at might be captured that way. But we do have a separate location where the team tracks their engagements.
And let me follow up with that. So,
Siobhan?
yep, sorry. Let me follow up with that. In that we capture, so when we interact with either a business partner, so faculty, administration, technology partner, stakeholder, and it's more than just talking about the weather, how are things going, so on and so forth. We make, so how do I say this? When we get out of the car in the morning and close that door, to when we leave campus, we know that we could interact with a variety of people, whether it's faculty, again, technology partners, so on and so forth. So we're always prepared to have conversations about the work or about the technology. And when we have those types of conversations, such as Dr. Armstrong, how are things going? How are we doing with the sensors? Or what is this? I understand you're now working in this area. How does that all connect with this other research? We actually capture this, as Kayla said, in a CRM, and we do it on the fly. It's just quick. This was the conversation. It attaches to their faculty profile, so we know when we had our last contact. But it's primarily Mark, Crystal, and I entering that into the system. We can either do it at a desk, but we also have a phone app that we can literally do it on the fly.
Great, thank you. And one more question before you finish up with the slides. What CRM do you use?
We're using Zoho CRM, and we also use their metrics tool.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
So before I hit kind of our next steps, I thought what I'd also do is kind of as a note, the photos that you've viewed throughout this slide presentation are actually images that we, whether it's the BRM team, we've taken ourselves as our teammates have interacted with faculty or technology partners, or now as we're beginning to build those relationships as our technology partners are meeting with faculty. And so we do that. That's kind of become part of our job so that we can utilize it, whether for presentations or also in our annual report. Okay, so where are we going next? So we can continue to grow. As I'm often saying now, is we're just getting started. We know we're on the right path, and we're excited. As technology continues to change and grow, we're going to have to continue to move with it. So I'm just going to touch base on a couple of these. We set these last April. Our budget season is at that time. That's when we do our annual reports. And this is always part of what we now include in those reports. The first is that potential technology for multidisciplinary collaborations. And Crystal talked about it earlier. And that's looking for the emerging technology across campus, especially in the colleges of engineering, science, and polytechnic. We believe that there's a lot of opportunities. We've interacted with faculty. They're generally excited. We've never been told no. The door is always open when we go to better understand what they're developing as researchers, because as one faculty in engineering said, I want to solve big problems, but they need the place to apply it, and agriculture is that perfect space. And so we continue to spend a significant time with that. Again, how can we move our faculty activities further and faster? The other thing that we're in the process of doing is associating faculty with technology trends. But if we would re-articulate that today, as Crystal indicated, we've collapsed a lot of the services into technology capabilities. And one of the things I want us to work on this winter is now to build business capabilities, such as microbiome or precision ag. And then if we understand some of the business capabilities that are occurring, we can then match technology capabilities so that as we begin to interact, hopefully our goal is to speed up those partnerships. Implement the logic model and value reporting. Because we want to report out the results from our impact statements in the logic model, we are going to be triggering the IRB process. We have actually a faculty in one of our departments that's willing to work with us, and that's going to give us the ability then to, when we truly have those 7 out of 10, we can report out in a public segment. The other thing that I really see is and it's what the Institute calls, really understanding the business purpose and that individual purpose. And we really understand and have clarity around this today, that how that really drives the value. And for us, it's higher education, but it's also agriculture. So we are often immersed into the ag tech or digital ag. And as we get into this, we start seeing a real interesting dynamic that is no longer just higher ed, IT, or technology really pushing against the faculty. It's their domain. It's the private sector is building. One of the largest sectors of startups right now is agriculture. And they're developing this technology outside. And so what it brings is this huge level of complexity. And that's just one other area that we will continue to learn to navigate, because that technology, what I call explosion, is going to continue to change, and we need to be able to change with it. So with that kind of gives you an overview of the journey we've been on the last couple of years, almost 3. Here's our contact information. Please feel free. A lot of these photos that we've used today we actually posted on Twitter. So whether we're out and about in classrooms or in labs, you can follow along. And is there another slide? And with that, Mitchell, I'll turn it back over to you.
Great. This was amazing. Just some wonderful content. You guys are really doing some excellent things in this space. I'm going to be talking a little bit, allow people to start submitting their questions. We did have one question that came in. So Jim is asking, where does the funding for this program come from?
The funding actually it's through Ag IT. It's part of the budget. So where this began was back in early 2015, a conversation with Pat Smoker, who is the Senior Director and Department Head for Ag IT, as well as our Dean at the time, who is now Provost, Jay Ackridge, who really felt that this was important. Today, I would say it's probably one of the largest areas of impact we can have, is helping faculty do this, because they're generally navigating this space on their own. And today, we continue to be funded through the College of Agriculture, through Ag IT. And
As we-
also, and a quick note with that, we are dedicated BRMs.
So I don't know if you mentioned it earlier, but your BRM program is within the college. You have a central IT organization, and why haven't they snatched you up and made it more of an enterprise-wide program?
So we do have a central IT organization, that's ITAP at Purdue. There is some relationship space in there, and we do interact. But our focus can be very different. They're very enterprise focused, so HR, student systems, so on and so forth. Faculty is a very different focus and work.
Sure. I guess I'll just continue asking questions if that's okay until we get some more in. Actually, I think we got one that just came in, so let me scroll to it. Steve is asking, let me skip up actually. Joshua is asking, are your BRMs, hold on, it just disappeared on me. Okay, are your BRMs broken out into portfolios, like schools, academic departments, administration, so on, so on? Yeah, did you catch the
Yeah, I
question?
know. We have 11 departments across the college. And then I'm going to let Mark and Crystal hop in after this and kind of let them give you their perspective. So, you know what, I'll be honest, when we started this thing, I didn't know what I was doing. We bounced around a little bit. And so when Mark and Crystal started in January, late December 2016, January 1st, 2017, I had some new faculty we needed to catch up on because it was just me prior to that. And I kind of just divvied it up. We had talked about, meaning Pat Smoker and I had talked about, do we do this by department? Do we do this just across campus? And I decided there's value in having people cross-trained, in a sense, across departments. In other words, understanding what's going on in most of the departments. So it's truly a first in might go to Mark, the second one in goes to Crystal this time. The next time Crystal gets the first one, Mark gets the second one. But I'll let Mark and Crystal weigh in from their perspective as a BRM with having a large portfolio, as well as some of the advantages that they've had having insight across departments.
Yeah, I'll talk briefly. So yeah, we do have a diverse group of faculty that spans all departments, and that is a challenge, but it also keeps things very interesting because you don't get just locked into a few things. You have everything from biochemistry to animal science to food science and everything in between, and that diversity has forced us all to try and learn the languages of each of those areas, but we make sure that we come back together every week to share what we've learned, and and so what I learn in botany might apply to and be helpful for Crystal, what she's learned, or how it applies to one of her botany faculty members. So. Diversity, yeah, there's no portfolios or segments that we're focused on individually. We do have a diverse group that we work with.
And I'll just add, and that's diverse across not only our business partner disciplines and domains, but again, across the technology domain. So it's kind of forced us to learn a lot more technology products and capabilities than I think any of us ever imagined as we've been growing into this space. So you never know kind of on any given day what kind of questions that some of these really innovative faculty are going to ask you. And so it's really been nice to be stretched in that way, both from the business partner domain, but also in the technology domain. But it is a challenge on some days. There are some days you go home with a headache because you've had to think a lot that day.
And understand too that just because somebody might be in Hort, it can actually be a similar science, just a different thing in animal science. So I'll still never forget the one time Mark came back from an animal science meeting with a new faculty, and he was doing a debrief, and Crystal stopped him and said, "What species?" And it was, I think, sheep and goats. And so can you explain? And all of a sudden she said, "Well, I have somebody in Hort wanting to is doing the same thing, but with plants." So that's where that debrief becomes really important, but also that diversity of the portfolio.
Sure. Yeah, there's nothing more satisfying to a faculty member to explain what they do to a new person, right? You build that relationship. That's a good way to build a relationship. Steve's asking, to what extent do you help business partners build their 3 to 5 year strategic IT roadmaps?
So Crystal, do you want to take this? Because I think you're going to be able to translate this more effectively.
Yeah, so at this point, in the sense of a true 3 to 5 year strategic IT roadmap, no, not in what you're traditionally thinking. It's more of an informal type process in understanding, as we begin to understand what faculty members are trying to accomplish, and helping to sort of guide them down the path that makes the most sense for them and what they're needing, and also from a technical sustainability process. So for example, we'll have a faculty member that wants to do XYZ technology, but it's maybe not in our mind quite where we think they need to end up. We'll start where they want to start, but try to guide them down the path that we think is going to be the best solution to meet their long-term needs. And so that's part of that relationship back and forth, because you don't really want to push things on these faculty members if they're not comfortable, because it's their research, it's their livelihood. But at the same time, as a technology professional, you understand what's sustainable and what really is the best solution for the long term. So it's not in a traditional sense of a 3 to 5 year roadmap, but it's more of an informal guidance down the path that it's going to make the most sense to meet their goals.
Sure. Now, are you referring that to services and products that exist already versus new, partnering them to create new services? And that's kind of what Andre really is asking here. He's asking about the level of involvement when you work with them to develop new services.
So I'll take the first pass at that. Mark, Crystal, feel free to hop in. So I'm going to use the Ag Data Services group that started this summer, or I guess May, led by Aaron Waltz here at Purdue now. And what we're able to do is make that connection. And if we understand what our faculty member is trying to do, and can get and pull back some of the layers behind some of the basics. So I'll use the one example Mark alluded to earlier. We can then get them to the correct partner. In this case, was ADS, who they were the ones that actually built, in a sense, that workflow or roadmap with them. So we're not really doing that at this time, and really not planning on it, doing a lot of that technology partner development. We let them run with that. But the key is, if we can get our technology partners closer to the idea And so that as they're working, so a good example again is Aaron. So we were able, and also Ag IT, they were there before the sensors were even purchased. And so really understanding where they want to go, they're the ones that are working then with the faculty member and building, in a sense, that roadmap, that data flow out. So as BRMs, we're really spending and focusing our time now on that discovery front end.
And I'll also add, so while we live in that space, on the partners, the technology partners where we have the more established relationships. So for example, the instructional technologies group, our involvement there when they're developing new services, we're involved as they're looking to, sunset products, purchase new products, testing new things. So we're involved in that. We help to connect them with business partners that might be able to help in that way. And then into seeking out as we start to hear, if we have a group of faculty and if we've heard, faculty X asked for something, then Y asked for something, then Z asked for something. So we're listening for those trends. And so that's another important thing that our team is collecting is as we're hearing these trends, and then we pass that on and saying, hey, we've heard several of our faculty members now asking for this. Is this something that you're considering? Have you considered it, etc.? So it's more of informing into the organization for what new services and tools that they might be considering purchasing or developing to meet needs that we're hearing as we're meeting with our partners.
So one of the things you might find interesting is Mark mentioned we're currently at around 125 faculty. We're currently at 43 technology partners on campus and growing. So, and that's including faculty and engineering because they have labs. And so we're just continuing to find that so we can help build those strategic partnerships. And really the faculty get excited because that's multidisciplinary work. It means setting up for not only projects, but also funding. So through grants, so on and so forth.
So Steve's asking a question. This is a great question. A lot of people wrestle with this capability, but within the BRM program, do you have business analysts that go and meet with the groups and get the requirements? Does that discipline live within Ag IT? How do you source that?
So we're still working through this. And where we're set today is that we do start with BRM with an idea plan. So understanding what a faculty is thinking, what do they want to do, so on and so forth. And since a lot of this has to do with data, what we've been doing these last few months is then we get them in touch with the Ag Data Services, and they begin that workflow. In the meantime, Ag IT has, Pat is very visionary as far as creating, I guess in a sense, an ecosystem here. So just within the last month to 6 weeks, we have now a project manager that is part of Ag IT. And we'll be doing this. And we also now have a business analyst who will also be assisting in building these. But also recognize that not every idea is a large transformational, and every technical partner often has different intake. And so we can speak to really projects going through Ag IT. We're not always able to speak to other technology partners, but we know how to get them to that initial space, how to put them into process.
Great. We have time for one more question. So I'll read this question from Joshua. This is a follow-up on the notion that business relationship managers are focused on the front end. Is a BRM project managing the submission and execution of project requests?
So we're not project managers. So we want to stay informed throughout the project management, development, and implementation process. But where our value is, especially here at Purdue and the college, is really that front end of discovery, uncovering those ideas, helping our technology partners get closer to that idea so they can be part of that system architect, understanding the operational strategy, what they want to do, and then part of building and moving in through the project portfolio, so on and so forth. The other piece that we are lining up with that Kayla talked about is that value recognition. So once value is realized after implementation, our goal is to be able to then go back and meet with our faculty and really start asking the questions. What did you learn? How have you applied it? And continue with that project long term to really understand the impact.
Okay. All right. Well, we're out of time. Thank you so much for today's presentation. I'd like to thank you, all four of you, for taking some time out sharing your insight with us today. Please refer to the slide decks for the presenters' contact information. Send them an email if you want a copy of the 2019 annual report, like Kayla mentioned. Stay tuned for more exciting events. Refer back to the IT Service Management Community Group's webpage for all of the latest information. We're always looking for fresh ideas, so if you have an idea for a webinar or desire to present, I always say, if you've got a voice, I've got a platform. So send me an email by contacting listserv or email me directly. If you're not a member of the IT Service Management Community Group or the Business Relationship Management Community Group or Project Management, because I think some of you are from the CG on this call today, consider joining. Also, if you're planning on attending the Business Relationship Management Institute Conference, BRM Connect, be sure to check out Purdue's session and network with your friends. And also, if you're going to be at Educause, come to the IT Service Management Community Group open session and the Business Relationship Management open session. Enjoy the rest of your day and enjoy the conference. Thank you so much and have a good one.